Hello again. So, I was gonna make notes in the video about some things that can possibly happen when you change strings on a tremolo guitar, and it happened with me on this guitar. So I'm gonna make another video. So when you change string gauges on a tremolo-equipped guitar, what ends up happening, like I had actually the guitar tech who basically ruined a different story. This guitar put a 10 set on, which I don't use because he's just a D-bag. And I just put 9s on there. So 9s have less tension than 10 gauge strings. So what ended up happening is, see the tremolo recessed because there's less tension on the springs, on the tremolo springs. And it's tuned to pitch. You can't really play it because it sits way too low and it touches the frets and it buzzes like crazy. So there you go. I was going to make another video. I wasn't going to make another video. I was just going to put it in notes. But since it actually happened to me now, I'm going to make a video on how to fix that. So what you need is to flip your guitar. And then you need a screwdriver. And always put these things in the same place. It's a good advice for people doing anything mechanically, because you'll never find them again. So these are the tremolo backplate screws, which I unscrewed already 5 of the 6, because you don't want to watch me unscrewing screws. But I just left the last one for demonstration purposes, and I put this exactly here. So I got all of them in a specific place, so I'll find them later. And then you take out this plate, which I'm doing one-handed, which reveals the tremolo block of the guitar, the tremolo springs, and the tremolo claw. So, on a tremolo, it doesn't matter if it's a Stratocaster or an Ibanez. These two springs and this part is called the tremolo claw, which is grounded, by the way. It's got a ground wire. Are screwed in by these two screws into the body. Now, depending on the gauge of the strings, means the tension the strings put on the tremolo springs. This thing will pull the tremolo block towards the body or away from the body. So this guitar has a problem now because I decreased the tension by changing from a 10 gauge set to a 9 gauge set. So the tension is much too low, so I gotta raise it back up, right? And I do this by adjusting these two screws. Now, side note, some people think that you cannot have a floating tremolo, which floating tremolo is when it sits a little up higher, so you can do this. Right? They think they have to have it leveled parallel with the body, so it sits all flat, screwed down to the body. When you have because this has a locking nut, this has a tremolo. It's locked down, but it's floating. See? So you can totally do that. See, it lifts off the body like that. It's a floating tremolo on this Frankie. And that's just how I roll. I got all my strats set up like that. But it's totally doable, and you also adjust it by adjusting the tremolo screws of the, see the difference? The Gem has it all screwed all the way in. The Frankie, you can see them protruding out. So this is what I'm going to do to the Gem. For comparison, I'm going to show you a Strat. Same principle, right? Tremolo block. See the ball ends go through here. That's why this ball end stops the string from going through here. See? They also show. The screws show they're not screwed in all the way because this is a floating tremolo, which I love. It's good people. And no, they don't go out of tune if you know how to wind your strings and set up your tremolo correctly. And also, side note, if you have a quality cold rolled steel tremolo block, makes a difference. Anyway, so what I'm gonna do now, I'm going to use a screwdriver with a little grip, This one, these tiny ones, for like delicate stuff on the guitar are nice, but you don't have a good grip, so I use this one. It's got a bigger handle, so I have a better grip because the tremolo screws and the tremolo cavity and the trem claw are a little larger. So I unscrew these, and it's just a finagle thing. And this fits really tight, so I'm gonna use this one's a little looser. I'm gonna finagle it, you know. I'm just gonna eyeball it real quick. Hold on real quick. I'm gonna use 2 hands because this is screwed in really tight. I don't want to damage my gem. Oh, this is really, really tight. So I'm gonna unscrew this a little, and I'm gonna use the same rule of thumb that I use on my Stratocasters. I put more tension on the bass strings than on the treble strings. So, see, I just unscrew this a little bit. There we go. So, as opposed to before where they were screwed all the way in, they show a little now. So now let's see what that did. What you have to do, I actually fit, I'm such a professional setup here, you know. I actually fit the headstock tuner on the gem because this has the truss rod, Allen wrench holder on the back. I don't know why I keep calling it truss rod. It's not the truss rod. The truss rod is what's in the guitar, you know, stability of the neck. Fit the headstock tuner in here. So what I'm going to do now is, now these are unlocked. You want to unlock these, right? To be able to tune it and see how low it sits. Way too low. So I'm going to tune this to pitch because when you change the tension of the springs in the back, it will change the pitch, which makes it a little tedious task because you always have to tune it back up. And then once you tune it back up, because now, okay, so this guitar was tuned to pitch when I started unscrewing these screws out of the body, which lowers the tension. I may have said that wrong in the beginning. It lowered the tension, right? So now that the tension is lower, the pitch is lower. And now if I want to tune it up to pitch, which you want to do, is you raise the tension so it brings the tremolo up, right? So we'll see if that fixes it. Because like I said, if the tremolo sits too low, it looks dumb. And it would also cause unplayability or extreme fret buzz because the strings sit on the frets and you don't want that. Now I did not stretch out these strings yet. These are the strings that I put on in the previous video. Okay, which is a little... I'm going to do this real quick and tune this to pitch and be right back. But I don't want to edit the video because I don't know how to, never mind. Because I'm such a professional YouTuber, right? That's what I do. So yeah. Tuning of the guitar is a video that I've been wanting to make for the longest time because most of my students are really young these days and they have a lot of issues with learning how to tune a guitar because tuning a guitar is actually much more complicated than you would think for a beginner because it requires you to know certain things like the standard sequence of the C major scale or the notes in general, because when you try and tune a guitar and you tune an E string and there's an F, a lot of people, believe it or not, wind the wrong way. So strings end up breaking or are too flappy or they give up altogether. So you have to know that. And then there's those little things, the hash marks, right? The hashtags, because you're trending on your tuner. It's called a sharp. And the beat, you have to know about that. Anyway, I'm telling you these things while I'm tuning this guitar to pitch. So it's almost to pitch, which is good enough because it will give me an idea if I lower the tension enough. Oh, look at that. It did the trick. That was very fast. It's not perfect all the way, It sticks out a little bit. It's not parallel, but I don't mind it. Because why? Because I want this thing floating, which on these things I think is anyway because it's the lion claw, right? It's cut out. So that's the trick, see? It's tuned almost perfectly to pitch, and that's what happens. If you have a guitar that you didn't buy yourself or you forgot you have a different string gauge set on, it will ruin, quote unquote, ruin your guitar because the tremolo will stick out like this. It happens too when the tension is way too high. When you put a heavier gauge set on it, that will happen. And if you change from 10 to 9, which I did on the gem, it will lower the tension and make the tremolo go down. So you have to compensate for that to have your guitar actually in playing condition, because as you can tell, I don't know if I demonstrated that before well enough, but it was an incredible amount of fret buzz. This one's not tuned to pitch perfectly because I didn't stress the strings yet, but see? Perfect playing condition. It just needs to be tuned. Anyway, that fixed it, see? So sometimes the tremolos are like this or the opposite way, which is not good. You gotta fix it. You unscrew the back plate, and then it's good to have a screwdriver with a little grip on it because the screws of the tremolo claw need to go out or in. There you go. Video number 2, which I didn't want to make, but I hope this helps you because I'm sure some people are struggling with this, as I did when I was really young 1,000 years ago. There you go. Take care.